Hello there, very good morning and welcome to Monday's edition of Newsline with me, Shane Silva. And with me in the newsroom this morning, I've got former diplomat and journalist Bandula Jayasekara, as well as the Minister of Local Government and Provincial Councils, Faiza Mustafa, to discuss the various developments that have been taking place in the media in the recent past. Bandula, good morning.
Yeah, morning.
Floor's over to you.
Yeah, but I'm, standing in for the great Farah Shaukat Ali till the second of next month. Faiza, now you are a very powerful minister. Now, wait till I finish. You are a very powerful cabinet minister, and we are really glad that you are recognized by the present president, because I think you were not given an opportunity during the previous regime that to be a cabinet minister. How have you taken your responsibility so far?
I think provincial council and local government is a very challenging portfolio, and President has trusted me and given this portfolio. I believe that I'll perform this portfolio to the best of my ability. Yeah,
now you have a challenge ahead, Faiza, with the local government elections. What are your plans for that?
I think we are all used to the proportional representation system, but this local government election will be conducted in the ward system. So there are new challenges which I'll face, and I think we need to reach consensus on a lot of issues.
Yeah, now in a way, like I'm sure, I don't know how many of you all know, now I'm surrounded by two legals, our colleague Shane, who's also a lawyer, he's been practicing for 9 years. So now, the most important subject, the death penalty. Are you for the death penalty or not?
The death penalty is part of our law, but it's being commuted to life sentence. That's continuously which has occurred. But His Excellency the President is of the belief that with the crime rate increasing, that one of the best forward is to introduce the death penalty again. My personal view is there are various arguments. Some say that death penalty is not part of our culture, but if you go back to the Candian Kingdom, the death penalty has been carried out. But then again, after conviction, there are instances where someone is proved to be, there's new evidence which has transpired and that person is evidence. Only that opportunity will be lost if you enforce the capital punishment. So this issue needs further discussion, but His Excellency the President wants Parliament to decide, and I think we need to reach consensus on this issue as well. Yeah,
but Shane, now we say culture, we say Buddhism, we say all that, but then that's not what's happening. There's gruesome murders, abuse of little kids. How do you see this, Shane, as a lawyer?
Well, Bandula, subject to what Mr. Faiza Mustafa also has to say, I believe that the need now to enforce the death penalty is greater than ever. When you look at the newspapers this morning, the crimes against children, earlier we had crimes that were committed, heinous crimes, where the public outcry was enforced the death penalty. Of course, now I believe that the need is greater than ever to enforce something as severe as the death penalty, or even something maybe not necessarily the death penalty itself, but something as severe which sends out a warning.
Yeah, I agree. because I think I'm all for the death penalty, because things have changed. Even though, like Minister Mustafa said, it's the culture. Because look at our culture. We are a matriarchal society. We have to care for people. That's not what is happening. We go to church, temples, everything, and listen to Banan every 24/7, but nothing is happening.
Bandhu, there is one issue. Yeah. See, a country like the US, where the crime rate is increasing, has the death penalty helped to reduce crime? We need to do a study and to see whether the death penalty will really help us reduce the crime rate. I think that's the core issue.
Yeah, but I think it will help in Sri Lanka.
There is a perception that it will, but we have to look at countries where they have enforced the death penalty and to see whether the enforcement of the death penalty has reduced crime in those countries.
But again, the US, Shane, you can buy a gun over the counter. There is a severe gun culture. But
not the US, but I think it requires a study to be done, not only the US, in countries where the death penalty has been enforced, and to see whether that has helped in reducing crime, because there is one factor. Subsequently, there could be new evidence which would transpire that the man where the death penalty has been enforced is innocent. That problem could always arise, but taking into consideration for the greater good of society, as a deterrent, if the death penalty would help, I think that's the best way.
But again, you can't, we have to take the side, Shane, of the victims. You can't bring those lives back. Look at these innocent lives, you can't bring
Bandula, I agree with you, but the issue is, we have to take the side of the victims, but will the death penalty help in reducing crime.
Mr. Mustafa, I mean, just to throw you a question, the death penalty, of course, was something that was intrinsic in the penal code. It did not come by way of amendment. It was part of the code itself, the main code itself. But now, looking at the developments of society, looking at how we have progressed as human beings, would you rather say that, okay, all right, the death penalty is there, let's look at enforcing it. However, rehabilitation, looking at the causes of all these crimes, do you think that that is something that we need to look at in depth, given our culture and given
I don't agree with this culture.
I think, Shane, you're perfectly right. We are looking at the effect, but the cause has to be looked. Why are people doing this? Why are there crimes committed against the children? What's the social issue with regard to that?
I mean, Mr. Mustafa, we are looking at a crime, the latest one, a 4-year-old child, and one of the main suspects is a 17-year-old boy. I mean, both are not even, they haven't attained even the age of majority as yet. But yet there is this growing demand. Yesterday we had
Independence Square,
all over the country, public rallies all over calling for the enforcement of the death penalty. However, do you feel that as a government that has come in with a new mandate, do you feel that this is something that we need to look at beyond mainly merely enforcing the death penalty, but looking at the causes of it?
Shane, I think the president would have not made this statement unless he believes that the death penalty will create some change. So I believe if you could give that a chance for a period of time, if we enforce it and see whether that has reduces the crime rate, I mean, then we are moving forward. There are always arguments to it. I mean, that they shouldn't enforce the death penalty. But for the greater good, if certain things have to be done, I think the death penalty is one. I think I'd like to see how Parliament would react to it.
But why did the previous leaders avoid this? You know, they just avoided and they said no. They
all commuted it to a life sentence because of various factors. But this president, looking at the increase in crime and the gruesome crimes which is being committed, believes that this is one way of moving forward. But Parliament has been given the opportunity of deciding on this. So let's see. I believe that the death penalty should be introduced. I believe that the death penalty, if you look at our culture, our history, it has been part of our history. But then there are various arguments for and against. But let us reach consensus on how we move forward.
Now, Faisal, we have to just move on to Geneva. Now, you are the legal advisor to the president. Now, the Geneva report is out. Everything is being discussed and they are talking of a hybrid court. As a President's Counsel and as the advisor to the President, what are your views on this?
No, I don't think anything done which affects our sovereignty, His Excellency the President will support. Saying that, we are discussing the Geneva report. But if President Maithripala Sirisena did not get a mandate and President Mahinda Rajapaksa continued, we would have faced greater challenges. As regards to my comment on the Geneva report, the Sri Lankan Freedom Party has appointed a 6-member committee to look into it, and that committee would study it and report back to the president, and we would give our official stand. So I don't think it's proper at this stage to give my personal views about the report.
Shane, as a lawyer, I want to ask you, do you think it's an interference on our judiciary? Please speak to me as a lawyer. How do you see it?
Well, actually,
not as a person.
I'm merely in today's capacity as a news anchor, and
you cannot deny the fact that you are a lawyer, but I have to ask you this question.
Well, I just draw on the article that's appearing in today's Island newspaper. Minister Vijaydas Rajapaksa has in fact told the UN that we have that this hybrid court is not necessary. That within the government itself and within the judiciary itself, we have an independent judiciary, and that we would take the necessary steps to actually implement what the UN has recommended in its report. So to that extent, I believe that apart from the hybrid court which they may establish or may not establish, subject to discussion, of course, I believe that the process within or the process should take place within the country itself.
Yeah, and also, Faisal, coming back now, okay, there were accusations against the previous regime about the Chief Justice, all that, but now the presidency Chief Justice is, very independent. He's not heard, he's not seen, he's maintaining his position. So the UN cannot say that our judiciary is not independent.
Bandula, looking at the past, the international community has raised various issues with regard to the independence of the judiciary. I'm very confident we can go back to the international community and say that our judiciary is independent. We have great jurists like Professor Veeramantri. I'm sure we can convince the international community that our judicial system is intact, and therefore we can their concerns, some of their concerns are justifiable with regard to how the judiciary conducted itself in the past. But we have a new era, like the Geneva report. If not for President Maithripala Sirisena winning the election, we would have faced greater consequences. But we have an opportunity to go back to the international community and say, give our judiciary a chance. We are an independent judiciary. Don't judge us by our past. We have moved from that phase. I'm sure we can win over the international community with regard to our judicial
Even
system.
in the US, the judges are appointed by the President of the United States. They are not independent. So how could they tell us you are not independent?
No, I think even though I was at that point part of the government with regard to the impeachment of the Chief Justice, there were greater issues where there were concerns by the international community with regard to how we were handling our judiciary in the past. So taking into consideration some of their concerns, if we address, I'm sure we could move forward.
Now coming back, Faisal, now you had been to Geneva before. I mean, I have been with you to Geneva. But what went wrong then? What went wrong then?
We were firefighting, but there was no actual commitment. We would go to Geneva the first year and give certain promises. Then we would not adhere to those promises. Then close upon Geneva, we would go all over the world trying to convince those countries to support us. I mean, international community took us for a joke because we didn't have actual commitment in what we promised. But President Maithripala Sirisena, I'm very confident that if he promises, and the international community believes in this government, otherwise we would have had sanctions and the country would have faced disastrous consequences if President Mahinda Rajapaksa continued, where the international community has lost total faith and confidence because we were firefighting. We went to Geneva, we went to various countries, we expended a lot of money, we had lobbyists.
Lobby groups
but
in
all of
US,
them proved to be a waste of money and time because the international community did not believe that we were sincere in dealing with them. But now the international community believes that they are sincere in dealing with the international community. Even though we might disagree in some of the issues, our sovereignty comes first. Always the international community will want us to do various things. But as a sovereign state, President Maithripala Sirisena will always do anything protecting our sovereignty.
But is the US with us or not with us?
I believe the US they have been very accommodative. They have been the catalyst in various issues which we had. And I'm sure we were a pariah state. We had moved away from the West, and we had no actual friends. But the West, who are goods and services, even during President Mahinda Rajapaksa's time, our export market was the West. We were fighting the West on the political side, but on the economic side, we were totally dependent on the West. But now, on the political and the economic side, President Maithripala Sirisena has been able to win over the West, and I'm sure, while they will demand for various things, President Maithripala, whilst protecting our sovereignty, if you are sincere with whom you deal with, they are willing to compromise. But in the past, we lacked sincerity, and I'm sure that we would be able to address these issues. And our Foreign Minister, Honorable Mangala Samaraveera, is conducting matters very well. I'm sure he also has been very successful in his negotiations. But taking all this into consideration, President Maithripala is very clear, I will protect our sovereignty, but I will deal with the West and the UN with utmost sincerity, and that is what the UN is expecting from us.
Minister Mustafa, now you mentioned the independence of the judiciary to look into domestically the issues with regards to the alleged war crimes, human rights violations. Also, just before that, we were discussing the developments with regards to the death penalty and the enforcement of the death penalty. The underlying theme, as I would see, is the strength of the judiciary in both these matters. How do you see the strength of the judiciary, the independence, the impartiality? How would you see it in the coming months, in the coming years, with regards to the enforcement of the death penalty? Because it is, if you don't have an independent and strong judiciary, the death penalty itself becomes a tool. Also, on the other side, with regards to the investigations and what the UNHRC report requires of us, if we don't have a strong judiciary, there again we won't be able to make a case to the UN. How do you see the judiciary in Sri Lanka progressing forward with regards to even laws delays?
But I think judicial now the Constitutional Council will be actually independent. With that, there will be an independent judiciary, and also if you see the recent appointments, the senior most judges being given the appointment, where in the past they were not given. So looking at it, I think confidence is building among the general public, also with regard to the judiciary, but unfortunately we have a very grey past with regard to our judiciary. So taking things in totality, with time, the international community would see that we are moving in the right direction, but we are always hounded by the past in the manner which we have dealt with our judiciary. So I was part of government, I was part of the previous regime as well, but what is right is what is right, and what is wrong is wrong. So there were issues in the manner which we handle the judiciary, but President Maithripala Sirisena and the Constitutional Council, and especially the 19th Amendment, President Maithripala Sirisena is the only president with actual commitment in reducing his powers. All other presidents, they spoke about reducing their powers, but when they came to office, they forgot. I dealt with President Maithripala on behalf of the UPF, and in certain instances when I went and met him, he said, don't talk about this issue, it's my powers which are being reduced. I gave a promise on the 8th of January and I have to keep to it. So I think looking at the 19th Amendment, the international community could see that we are sincere and we have commitment with regard to our independence.
Faisal, now the president, now you are a senior cabinet minister, President Maithripala.
I'm not a senior cabinet minister, I'm a junior cabinet.
No, but I like to call Faisal senior and a powerful cabinet minister, and we are very glad that we have a youthful minister who's got responsibility. Like my friend Farah said, maybe the third most important man in the government.
It's a very good joke for the morning.
But having said that, having said that, I want to ask you, how are they? How is the president and the prime minister? How are they? Are they working together well?
They are working with utmost sincerity, and if they don't work with utmost sincerity, it will collapse. Because for the UNP and the SLFP to work together at ground level, when you are a UNP, your enemy is the SLFP. If you are a SLFP, so the generals, the supporters of both these parties have to be confident that if you are a SLFP, that Honorable Ranil Wickremesinghe is sincere. If you are a UMP, that President Maithripala is sincere. So this coexistence is a very, very difficult journey, because if you look at our political culture, we had a very confrontational approach. I mean, if you are a SLFP, you will always criticize the UNP. That's why certain members of the UNP criticized the SLFP, and Honorable Ranil Wickremesinghe took action about it. So he believes that we have to work together. So at the moment, the way the President and the Prime Minister are taking this country forward, they are working with utmost sincerity, because if they each try to destabilize the other, the country would suffer, and both of them made a commitment to the country with regard to good governance, and they are obliged to keep to that commitment.
But what about the losers getting positions, the perks, they got cabinet, such a huge cabinet, I don't think we can afford this.
Bandula, with regard to losers being accommodated in the UPFA national list, I said it earlier also, there was a conspiracy to defeat candidates who supported President Maithripala Sirisena, and we needed them in Parliament, and the Constitution provides for it. So I believe that the best would have been not to appoint a defeated candidate, but taking into consideration the need of the UPFA and strengthening President Maithripala Sirisena within Parliament and the UPFA.
But I think
we took a decision that they were needed.
I think it's still party politics and not caring for us. This is what I feel. It's all party politics. So where are the masses? What about us?
This was done in the past. This has continuously been done.
Yeah, no, we didn't support it in the past. We don't. Now see, but now you have come up saying it's a Yahapan, it's a just society. So we need a change. So the burden is on the masses, Faisal.
Bandula, when you have a conspiracy to defeat anybody who is supporting President Maithripala Sirisena, look at SB Disanak, he was number 1 or 2 in Kandy, Mahinda Samarasinghe, all Lakshman Yapa who came number 1 in Matra.
So do you think SB has a good reputation? You think SB Disanak has a good reputation? You think Chandrika likes SB?
Bandula, the way you judge them is not the way masses judge.
The masses?
Yes, no, I mean, elitist thinking is one thing, Colombo thinking is one thing, but at ground level, they were very popular with the masses, and there have been people who have been working with the masses. But generally, if you have come number 1 in the district, it's very rare that you lose. But because of, take Lakshman Yapa from Matra, he came continuously had come number 1. And there was a conspiracy to defeat him. But why was that conspiracy? Because he supported President Maithripala. So there was an obligation cast upon President Maithripala Sirisena because of this conspiracy to bring them to Parliament, because the only reason they lost was they supported President Maithripala, and good governance.
But Pfizer, you talk of conspiracy, but 2 days before, I don't know what to call whether it's a conspiracy or whatever, you went 2 days before the election, you ousted the secretaries of UPF and SLP.
I did not go. The Duminda Disanayak and Vishwavarapala went into court because the president rightfully sacked the UPFA and the SLP General Secretary because they were acting against the party. That was his belief. And then the secretaries who were appointed felt that they were interfering and they went to court and
but
got
you're the legal
court.
advisor to the president.
I'm the legal advisor.
So you advised him.
You may say that. But Bandula, within the legal norms, within the legal system, it's better to go to court and enforce your right than adhere to extra judicial means.
Yeah.
So what we did was within the constitutional legal framework, and the parties against the orders were obtained agreed to give up their position as general secretary.
But what about the burden on us? You know, so many ministers, so many secretaries, cars, security burden. Can you bear it? You know, people are trying to make a day-to-day living.
In the past, you know how the...
But
can I tell you something? President is against waste. President is against waste. President is against corruption. When at the president's inauguration, the cost was only 60,000 rupees. Even when we take office, we are very conscious of the thinking of our leader. I mean, earlier we would have thought differently. He's against waste.
How much did it cost your inauguration?
I it didn't cost at all because my friends helped me to do it, and even my deputy minister had a function, but he got his friends to contribute and did not. Hereafter, President Maitripala's thinking is nobody should ride and enjoy on state expense. We had it in the past. I mean, I was also part of that government, but now the thinking is minimize state expense, utilize whatever state resources for the betterment of the masses. That is the thinking of President Maitripala Sirisena. He conducts himself in his manner. So when you have a leader who conducts himself in the manner, who is against corruption, who is against waste, it filters down to even to the local politician, because he has the right to question. When there is waste at the top, you cannot question a local politician. But now I think the country is moving in the right direction. Even Honorable Ranil Wickremesinghe is very conscious of that fact. So we have two leaders who are going in that direction, and I'm sure the whole government machinery will follow that. And with regard to your question, Bandula, you have to increase the cabinet if you are having a national government. You can't do that.
It's a coalition. I don't think it's a national government. Where's the team?
Bandula, let us play with words.
Yeah.
The two major parties today have formed a government. There are other parties who have joined. So let the country give them a chance. I mean, as we have taken office, there is so much of criticism, there is so much of ministers. But if you look at our political culture, it has been worse before. We have come to a stage, in comparison there is an improvement. So give us a chance, let us prove ourselves.
But this is what I'm saying, masses are asses, and then they are having a good time and we are suffering. But having said that,
Bandula, I don't think masses are, the voters so today are very intelligent. I don't think so. I mean, nobody has been taken for a ride. Give us time to prove ourselves. If we have taken the masses for a ride, the democratic manner is we will be thrown out of office.
Yeah, but Minister Mustafa, sorry.
You carry on here.
Just on a lighter note, and to reduce the somewhat on a more lighter scale, there is a picture that has been highlighted in the mainstream newspapers today of the president engaged in a cleaning program. Symbolic of what we've just been discussing, or what are your thoughts?
Let me add to that. I'll tell you your story. In the previous regime also, they do this cleaning program, they do all this. I see only the t-shirts coming out. They are doing the same thing. I'm sure the t-shirt supply is making lots of money. You don't need to do that.
I'll give a simple example.
Even the
Maitripala Sirisena was only interested in two portfolios, environment and Mahavali. So that is his commitment. Why did he? The cleaning program is part of the environment ministry. So there is actual commitment on his path. And also, President Maitripala is not a president for tamashas. So I believe, I left before the January, I left the government before, because I truly believed in him. I yet have that belief in him. Give us a chance. There might be issues. The public have a right to question us. But like a constructive criticism is welcome. So let there be, like Bandula pointed out, that is his view about the cleaning program. We respect that. But I believe that President Maitripala Sirisena participated in that program with utmost sincerity. So give us a chance to prove ourselves, and I'm confident that we'll take this country forward.
Sir, we respect the president. What I said was, Shane, also, like when I saw it in the previous regime also, you could see, people doing this wearing t-shirts. I think you were trying to get at that.
But I'll tell you, but the previous regime, the cost of the program would have been exorbitant.
I agree, but I think it's time we change this culture. Let's stop blaming. Obviously, we elected President Maithripala Sirisena for that change. So I think let that change be seen, and let the masses get the benefits. Now, I want to change the subject a bit more. Now, we respect the president for doing that, for leading by example. But having said that, now I saw a nice editorial in one of the newspapers. It said, "Chariots of Death." This is about, the vehicles, the what do you call, PSD vehicles, all these, not only PSD, MSD, all these vehicles. I mean, they are also, there's a time they can be much more disciplined. Cannot the president give a directive for them to be, concerned about the masses, the people, ordinary people?
I'm sure that, discipline should come in all sides, in all quarters. I'm sure even the forces, even our security personnel should be more. I think that's very constructive criticism. I'm sure also the president would bring in discipline with, looking at one accident to comment is also not
there
fair.
are so many fights.
But also,
so many in the ends. Can you go around, you have to give way to these people.
I think this ministerial security personnel should treat the public with more respect. Yes. But also you have to look at their mental state. They are used to, during the war, going from point A to point B in the shortest possible time, because they were tensed at that. So from that psyche, it takes a little time for them to, because once you're used to that psyche, it takes a little time. I have gone with my security person. I asked them, why are you going? What's the rush? They're used to it. Securities, we judge things differently. They look at the security aspect. So their aspect is, forget about the road rules. We have to protect whoever is there. So with time now we have peace in this country. Security personnel also should slow down. President Maithripala Sirisena, I have seen him stopping at traffic lights. I've seen him going with only once.
Which is really welcome.
But we are fearful. We don't want the president of the country to go with one, because we want greater protection for him.
True,
it's easy to comment, but you have to also look at the security aspect also.
But lots of people, I'm telling you, I will name people like Douglas Devananda or Tondaman, they use this not as security, just to get, they are used to it. They cannot live without it. This is where the problem, Shane.
You're right, Shane. People have used part of pomp and pageant. Some of them have used security. They've used it to show how powerful they are. I think that culture has to change, Shane.
Empty vessels make the biggest noise.
On that note, Bandula, Minister Faisal Mustafa, thank you for joining us. Unfortunately, we are constrained by time, so we have to wrap up. Of course, tomorrow, though, we will be having Arjuna Ranatunga also on Newsline. But for the moment, thank you for joining us, and have a good day.